The human counterattack began at exactly 0300 hours, the same time the Vorthax had attacked the colonies 6 months earlier. Supreme Fleet Commander Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the new flagship Vengeance, watching as his battle fleet prepared to jump to hyperspace. 50 black warships hung in formation around him, each one carrying enough firepower to level a planet. "All ships report ready," announced Captain Nam Soo-jin from the communications station. "Target selection is confirmed," added Commander Choi Hee-jin from Intelligence. "We have identified the 3 Vorthak fleet bases that launched the attacks on our colonies." Kim looked at the tactical display showing the locations of enemy forces. The Vorthax had spread their fleets across multiple systems, confident that humans were too weak to threaten them. That confidence was about to become their destruction. "Launch Phase 1, Kim ordered. "Show them what happens when you wake sleeping predators." The human fleet vanished into hyperspace. Admiral Krexnor was commanding the Vorthak base at Krylon when the humans arrived. He was the same officer who had led the bombardment of New Busan, personally ordering the destruction of the wheat fields, where children had played. He was reviewing plans for new attacks when his sensors detected the incoming human ships. "Sir, 50 unknown vessels dropping out of hyperspace," reported his sensor officer. "Configuration unknown, but they're heading directly for our position." Krexnor laughed. "Humans! They finally found the courage to fight back. Prepare our fleet for combat. This will be entertaining." But when the human ships emerged from hyperspace, Krexnor's laughter died in his throat. These weren't the white and blue civilian vessels he had expected. These were warships unlike anything in the galactic databases, sleek black predators that radiated menace. "Sir," said his weapons officer nervously, "those ships, they don't match any known human designs." "Impossible," Krexnor snarled. "Humans build cargo ships and farming equipment. They don't have military technology." Captain Lee Do-hyun commanded the lead attack vessel, the ship he had named Retribution, after the friends he had lost trying to defend the colonies. His crew was a mix of former peacekeepers and new volunteers, all united by the same burning desire for justice. "Target the command ship," Do-hyun ordered. "Let's send Admiral Krexnor a personal message from the children he murdered." The Retribution's main plasma cannon charged with a sound like gathering thunder. The weapon was based on terraforming technology, designed to heat soil for farming, but engineer Song Dae-jung had modified it to generate temperatures hot enough to melt starship armor in seconds. "Fire!" Do-hyun commanded. The plasma beam struck Krexnor's flagship dead center. The Vorthak admiral had time for one surprised scream before his entire ship vaporized. The explosion was so intense that nearby Vorthak vessels were damaged by the shockwave. "One down," Do-hyun announced to the fleet. 47 to go." The human attack was unlike anything the Vorthaks had ever experienced. Instead of the chaotic battle they expected, the humans fought with precision that was almost mechanical. Each ship had a specific target, each weapon fired at the exact moment for maximum damage. Colonel Jang Min-ho led the Marine boarding parties. They captured the Vorthak supply depot on the moon below. His soldiers moved through the enemy base like shadows, appearing suddenly to eliminate guards and disappear before reinforcements could arrive. "Sir," reported Sergeant Major Lee Ki-tae as they secured the command center, "we've found the records of the colony attacks. They kept detailed files of the casualties they caused." Zhang looked at the data files showing pictures of dead human families, refugee camps that had been bombed, children who had been hunted down by Vorthak soldiers. The enemy had kept these records as trophies. "Download everything," he ordered, "and then destroy this place completely. Leave nothing standing." The Vorthak officers tried to surrender when they realized their fleet was being systematically destroyed. They broadcast pleas for mercy, offering to negotiate and return captured territory. Supreme Fleet Commander Kim received their communications with cold satisfaction. "This is Commander Kim of the Terran War Machine," he replied. "You targeted Our civilians. You murdered our children. You bragged about your victory to the galaxy. There will be no negotiation. There will be no mercy. There will only be consequences. At the second target system, the Vorthak fleet tried to run when they saw the human ships arriving, but the new human vessels were faster than anything the enemy had encountered. The fleeing ships were hunted down one by one and destroyed. Captain Woo Kyung-min commanded the pursuit squadron that eliminated the escaping enemies. Her ship, the Reckoning, caught up with a fleeing Vorthak destroyer just as it tried to jump to hyperspace. "Disable their engines," she ordered. "I want them to have time to think about what they did before they die." The human weapons struck with surgical precision, crippling the enemy ship without destroying it immediately. The Vorthak crew found themselves floating helplessly in space, watching the human vessels approach. "Please," the Vorthak captain begged, over the radio. "We were following orders. We didn't want to attack civilians." Captain Wu studied the enemy ship through her targeting scope. "According to our records, your vessel personally destroyed 3 refugee camps on Terra Nova. One of them was full of children who had just learned to speak Basic." "We can make up for it," the Vorthak pleaded. "We can help you rebuild—" "No," Wu interrupted. "You can't. Fire all weapons." The crippled destroyer vanished in a ball of plasma. Dr. Lim Hyun-woo's psychological warfare was proving devastatingly effective. His team had analyzed Vorthak communications and identified the fears that their warrior culture tried to hide. They broadcast messages specifically designed to break enemy morale. "Attention Vorthak forces," his recorded message played on enemy communication channels. "You attacked sleeping children and called yourselves warriors. You bombed refugee camps and called yourselves strong. Now you face the descendants of the predators who conquered Earth. We are the species that survived ice ages and asteroid impacts. We are the children of the hunters who brought down creatures 10 times our size. You wanted to see what humans are capable of when we stop being peaceful. Look around you. This is just the beginning." The broadcasts were accompanied by footage of human ships systematically destroying Vorthak fleets. The enemy had expected desperate resistance from a beaten species. Instead, they faced methodical extermination by an enemy that seemed to feel no emotion except cold anger. At the third target system, the Vorthaks tried to use their remaining civilian population as shields. They moved their military assets close to populated areas, hoping humans would hesitate to attack. They were wrong. Minister Park So-ra had authorized the development of precision weapons that could eliminate military targets without harming nearby civilians. The human fleet demonstrated these capabilities by destroying Vorthak warships while leaving civilian structures completely untouched. "Sir," reported a Vorthak officer to his commanding general, "the humans just destroyed our entire fleet without harming a single civilian building. How is that possible?" General Vexnor, who had planned the attacks on human colonies, stared at the tactical display in disbelief. His military base was gone, but the civilian city next to it was completely unharmed. The humans had weapons accurate enough to eliminate individual buildings while leaving everything around them intact. "What kind of technology do they have?" he whispered. His answer came in the form of a human landing force led by Colonel Jang Min-ho. The Marines moved through the city without threatening civilians, targeting only military personnel with weapons that seemed to know the difference between combatants and innocent bystanders. General Vexnor tried to hide among the civilian population, but the human soldiers found him easily. Their equipment could identify individual biosignatures from orbit. "General Vexnor," said Colonel Jang, as his Marines surrounded the cowering officer, "you ordered the bombing of the schools on New Busan. 500 children died in those attacks." "I was following orders," Vexnor pleaded. "Overlord Krextar commanded us to—" "You smiled when you gave those orders," Jang interrupted, showing him recordings from captured Vorthak communications. "You laughed about killing soft human children. Did you think we would forget? The general was taken alive, but only because the humans wanted him to testify about Vorthak war crimes. His fate would be decided later." Back in Vorthak space, Overlord Krextar was receiving reports that filled him with growing panic. 3 of his major fleet bases had been completely destroyed. Hundreds of his best ships were gone. Thousands of his officers were dead or captured. "How is this possible?" he raged at his remaining commanders. "Humans don't have military technology. They're farmers and merchants." "Sir," said his intelligence chief, sporting bandages from the last time Krextar had struck him, "we may have underestimated human capabilities. These ships are using technology we've never seen before." "Find out where they're building them," Krextar snarled. "Send scouts to human space, find their shipyards and destroy them." But the scout ships that tried to penetrate human territory simply vanished. The humans had established sensor networks that detected approaching enemies and automated defense systems that eliminated them before they could gather intelligence. 18 months after the first human counterattack, the Vorthak hegemony ceased to exist. Overlord Krextar spent his final moments aboard his flagship as Captain Nam Su-jin's boarding party broke through the last defensive barriers. The tyrant, who had bragged about killing human children, was cowering behind his command throne when the human Marines found him. "Please," he begged, his warrior pride finally broken by months of watching his empire crumble. "I surrender. I can give you information about other hostile species." Captain Nam looked down at the creature who had ordered the destruction of peaceful colonies. She thought about the farmers who had died in their wheat fields, the children who had suffocated when the biodomes collapsed, the refugees who had trusted human protection only to be hunted down like animals. "Your surrender is noted," she said coldly. "It is also rejected." The former overlord died knowing that his entire civilization would follow him into oblivion. Supreme Fleet Commander Kim Tae-ho stood in the ruins of the Vorthak capital world's military command center, watching as human engineers cataloged captured weapons and technology. Everything useful would be studied and improved. Everything dangerous would be destroyed. "Sir," reported Colonel Jang Min-ho, "we've secured all remaining Vorthak military installations. Their fleet is completely eliminated. Their government has collapsed. Scattered groups are trying to surrender, but most of their leadership is dead." Kim nodded. The systematic destruction of Vorthak military power had taken less than 2 years, a remarkably short time to completely eliminate an empire that had terrorized multiple star systems. "What about the civilian populations?" Kim asked. "Unharmed," Jang replied. "Our forces have distributed food and medical supplies to Vorthak civilian areas. We're following the same protection protocols we used for refugee species." It was a crucial distinction. Humans had systematically destroyed every Vorthak military asset while carefully protecting civilian populations. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humans would eliminate threats, but they would not commit genocide. Minister Park So-ra was meeting with representatives from dozens of alien species who had requested human protection. The conference room was packed with delegates who had watched the destruction of the Vorthak war machine and decided they wanted to be on humanity's side. "Minister Park," said the Altarian ambassador, "the Altarian Council formally requests a mutual defense treaty. With the Terran war machine, we offer our industrial capacity in exchange for protection from hostile forces." Similar requests came from the Zalani Federation, the Krinian Republic, and even species that had previously been neutral or hostile to human expansion. "We'll consider all applications," Park replied diplomatically. "But understand that human protection comes with conditions. We will not tolerate aggression against civilian populations. Any species that targets non-combatants will face the same fate as the Vorthaks." The delegates nodded eagerly. They had all seen the footage of Vorthak fleets being methodically destroyed. None of them wanted to experience human military power. First-hand, Admiral Woo Kyung-min was establishing the first human protection zone around former Vorthak territory. Her fleet patrolled the borders, ensuring that no hostile forces could threaten the civilian populations that remained. "Sir," reported her communications officer. "We're receiving requests for assistance from 3 different systems. 2 are dealing with pirate raids, and 1 is facing invasion by the Kraxon Syndicate. Dispatch response fleets to all 3 locations," Wu ordered. "Standard protection protocols. Eliminate military threats, protect civilians, establish monitoring stations." The human protection zones were expanding rapidly. Any species that requested human assistance received it, but they also accepted human oversight of their military activities. The galaxy was learning that peace came with a price, the complete abandonment of aggressive expansion. Dr. Lim Hyun Woo had moved from psychological warfare to diplomatic communications. His team now worked to prevent conflicts before they required military intervention. "The key is making potential aggressors understand the consequences," he explained to his staff. "We don't threaten them directly. We simply show them recordings of what happened to the Vorthax and let them draw their own conclusions." The recordings were remarkably effective. Several species that had been planning military expansion against their neighbors suddenly discovered urgent domestic issues that required their attention instead. General Song Dae-jung commanded the new Human Defense Academy, where representatives from allied species learned human military tactics and technology. The training was carefully controlled. Allies received enough knowledge to defend themselves effectively, but not enough to threaten human interests. "The goal is stability," he told his instructors. "We want our allies to be strong enough to handle minor threats on their own, but not so strong that they become threats themselves." Captain Lee Do-hyun had been promoted to admiral and now commanded the Rapid Response Fleet. His ships could reach any threatened system within days, bringing overwhelming force to bear against aggressors before they could establish defensive positions. "Admiral," reported his intelligence officer, "we've detected military buildup by the Nexaron Empire near the border of the protection zones. They appear to be planning aggressive action against the Yeltani colonies." Do-hyun studied the tactical displays. The Nexarans were testing human resolve, seeing if the protection zones were real or just empty threats. "Deploy the fleet," he ordered. "Full intimidation protocols. Let's remind them what happened to the last empire that attacked peaceful colonies. The human fleet appeared in Nexaran space 12 hours later. 50 black warships took positions around the enemy military bases, their weapons powered but not yet firing. This is Admiral Lee Do-hyun of the Terran War Machine." His message went out on all channels. "You are planning aggressive action against species under human protection. You have 24 hours to stand down your forces and withdraw from the border region. This is your only warning." The Nexaran Emperor tried to negotiate, offering to limit his expansion in exchange for human recognition of Nexaran territorial claims. "There will be no negotiation," Do-hyun replied. "You have 23 hours and 47 minutes remaining." The Nexaran fleet withdrew 16 hours later. Ambassador Han Yuri was building the new diplomatic framework that would govern galactic relations. The old system of competing empires and constant border disputes was being replaced by something unprecedented, a galaxy where aggression was simply not tolerated. "The Galactic Peace Accords are now signed by 47 species," she reported, to the Terran High Command. "Each signatory agrees to resolve disputes through arbitration rather than military action. They also agree to accept human intervention if they violate the accords. The accords were backed by the simple reality of human military power. Any species that chose aggression over diplomacy would face the same fate as the Vorthax." Engineer Bak Ji-woo was designing the monitoring systems that would maintain galactic peace. Sensor networks throughout human-protected space would detect military buildups and suspicious fleet movements, providing early warning of potential conflicts. "The goal is prevention," he explained to his design teams. "We want to identify problems before they become wars." On Earth, the memorial to the colony victims was nearly complete. Dr. Park So-ra stood in the memorial garden, reading the names of the 2.3 million beings who had died in the Vorthak attacks. Her daughter's name was carved in stone alongside. Farmers, teachers, refugees, and children from a dozen different species. "Ma'am," said Commander Choi Hye-jin, approaching quietly, "the Galactic Council is requesting a formal meeting. They want to discuss humanity's new role in maintaining interstellar peace." Park smiled slightly. The same Galactic Council that had remained silent when human colonies burned was now eager to work with the species that had avenged those deaths. "Tell them we'll consider it," she replied, "but make it clear that our terms are non-negotiable. Peace through strength, protection for the innocent, and swift, certain punishment for anyone who targets civilians." The meeting took place on the neutral world of Thylex Prime, with representatives from over 100 species in attendance. Supreme Fleet Commander Kim Tae-ho led the human delegation, flanked by the officers who had overseen the destruction of the Vorthak Empire. "The galaxy has changed," Kim announced to the assembled delegates. "For too long, aggressive species have been allowed to prey on peaceful ones. The weak have suffered while the strong took what they wanted. That age is over." The Galactic President, a dignified being from the ancient Thylex Consortium, spoke carefully. "Commander Kim, while we appreciate humanity's commitment to peace, some species are concerned about the concentration of military power in human hands." "They should be concerned," Kim replied bluntly, "but not for the reasons they think. Any species that chooses cooperation over conquest has nothing to fear from human power. But those who dream of empire and expansion should be very afraid indeed." Minister Park stood to address the assembly. "My daughter was 8 years old when the Vorthaks killed her. She drew pictures of humans and aliens living together in peace. The Vorthaks called that weakness and tried to destroy it." Captain Lee Do-hyun stood in the observation deck of Nexus Station and watched the stars. His hands were steady on the metal railing, but his heart was beating fast. Today would change everything for humanity. He knew it, and so did every other human in the galaxy. The Galactic Council chambers buzzed with noise. 847 different alien species had come to vote on one simple question. What should they do with Earth and its people? Lee Do-hyun had been Earth's military representative for 3 years. He had seen the fear in alien eyes when they looked at humans. They called humans unpredictable and dangerous. They said humans grew too fast, learned too quickly, and asked too many questions. Ambassador Park Min-ji walked up beside him. She was a small woman with gray hair and tired eyes. For 15 years, she had tried to make peace between humans and aliens. Today, all her work would be tested. "Are you ready?" she asked Lee Do-hyun. "As ready as anyone can be for the end of the world," he replied. Park Min-ji smiled sadly. "Maybe it's not the end. Maybe it's the beginning." The call came over the station speakers. All representatives were to report to the main chamber. Lee Do-hyun and Park Min-ji walked through the long corridors. The walls were made of some alien metal that changed color as they passed. Blue for calm, red for danger, purple for uncertainty. Today, the walls flickered between red and purple. The Galactic Council chamber was huge. It could hold 10,000 beings easily. The ceiling was made of clear material that showed the stars outside. In the center was a floating platform where speakers could address the council. Lee Do-hyun took his seat in the human section. There were only 12 humans in the entire galaxy outside of Earth, 12 people to speak for 8 billion back home. The council leader was a tall, thin alien called Vex Korun. His species, the hegemony, had been the most powerful in the galaxy for 1,000 years. He had 6 arms and skin that looked like blue metal. When he spoke, his voice echoed through the chamber. "Representatives of the Galactic Council," Vex Korun began. "We gather today to decide the fate of the species known as humans and their world called Earth." Lee Do-hyun felt his stomach tighten. The word fate made it sound like a death sentence. "For 50 years, humans have been part of our galactic community," Vex Korun continued. "In that time, we have watched them with growing concern. Images appeared in the air above the platform. Pictures of human cities growing larger, human ships exploring new star systems, human scientists making discoveries, human soldiers training for war. They multiply too quickly, said a representative from the Zephyrian collective. When they first joined us, they had 4 billion people. Now they have 8 billion. They explore too aggressively, added a speaker from the Void Watchers. They have sent ships to every corner of their local space. They ask to visit systems we consider sacred or dangerous. They innovate without wisdom, declared a member of the ancient assembly. They create new technologies without understanding the consequences. They play with forces that could destroy star systems. Lee Do-yun wanted to stand up and defend his species. He wanted to tell them that humans explored because they were curious. They innovated because they wanted to solve problems. They grew in numbers because they valued life. But he stayed quiet. Park Minji had made him promise to wait for the right moment. More aliens spoke. The crystalline hierarchy complained that humans were too emotional. The machine collective said humans were too unpredictable. The peaceful union claimed humans brought violence wherever they went. They are a young species, said one voice. Perhaps they will learn with time. Time is what we fear we do not have, replied another. They advance too quickly. In another 100 years, they may surpass us all. Lee Do-yun looked around the chamber. He saw fear in hundreds of different types of eyes. These beings had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They had created peace between species that had fought for millions of years. They had built wonders that humans could barely understand, and they were afraid of humanity. Finally, Vex Korun called for the formal presentations. Ambassador Park Minji of Earth will now speak for humanity. Park Minji stood up and walked to the floating platform. She looked small compared to the massive chamber around her. But when she spoke, her voice was clear and strong. Honored representatives, she began, I stand before you not just as Earth's ambassador, but as a mother, a teacher, and a daughter of humanity. She paused and looked around the chamber. You fear us because we are different, because we grow and learn and change quickly, because we ask questions you think should not be asked. The chamber was completely silent now. Yes, we are young. Yes, we make mistakes. Yes, we sometimes rush into things without thinking. But is that not what all young species do? You are not like other young species, interrupted a representative from the Elder Conclave. Other species learn slowly. They accept guidance. They follow the rules we have made. Park Minji nodded. You are right. We are not like others. We never have been. Even on our own world, humans have always been explorers and inventors and dreamers. She touched a control on the platform and new images appeared. Pictures of human art, human music, human children playing together. Pictures of humans helping aliens who were sick or lost. Pictures of human scientists working with alien researchers. But we are also helpers and healers and friends, Park Minji continued. In 50 years, how many wars have humans started with other species? 0. How many times have humans broken galactic law? Less than any other species in our size category. But the potential for danger remains, said Vex Korun. The potential for good also remains, Park Minji replied. Greater potential than you imagine. She straightened her shoulders and looked directly at the council leader. I know why you have called this vote, she said. You want to quarantine Earth. You want to cut us off from the galaxy. You want to make us prisoners in our own star system. Murmurs filled the chamber. Several alien representatives looked uncomfortable. You think this will keep you safe from us, Park Minji continued. You think this will slow us down, make us weak, force us to give up our dreams of the stars? She smiled, and Lee Do-yun felt a chill run down his spine. He had seen that smile before, usually right before Park Minji did something that surprised everyone. You are wrong, she said simply. The decision has already been made. Vex Corin announced. "The vote will proceed as planned." "Then let it proceed," Park Minji said. "But know this, representatives of the galaxy, you are not exiling us. You are freeing us." She walked back to her seat. Lee Do-yun wanted to ask her what she meant, but there was no time. The voting had begun. One by one, each species cast their vote. The hegemony voted to exile Earth. The Zephyrian Collective voted to exile Earth. The Void Watchers, the Ancient Assembly, the Crystalline Hierarchy, the Machine Collectives, the Peaceful Union, and the Elder Conclave all voted the same way. Every single species voted to exile Earth. When it came time for humanity to vote, Park Minji stood up again. "Humanity abstains," she announced. The final tally appeared in the air. 847 votes for exile, 0 votes against, 1 abstention. "The motion passes," Vex Corin declared. "Earth will be quarantined within 1 standard galactic year. All human representatives must return to their home system. All human ships must withdraw from galactic space. All trade agreements with Earth are hereby terminated." Lee Do-yun felt like the floor had dropped out from under him. It was really happening. Humanity was being thrown out of the galaxy. But Park Minji was still smiling. As the representatives began to leave the chamber, she activated her communication device. Lee Do-yun watched as she sent a single message back to Earth. Just 4 words. "Exodus protocol is go." All across the galaxy, in hidden bases and secret facilities, other humans received the same message. Commander Kim Jun-ho, who was supposed to be exploring empty space systems, smiled as he read it. Dr. Yang Hyejin, who was supposed to be working on peaceful terraforming research, felt her heart race with excitement. Humanity had been preparing for this day for 30 years. The galaxy thought they were exiling Earth. They had no idea they were about to set humanity free. 3 days after the vote, Admiral Cho Sun-woo stood on the bridge of the UES horizon and watched Earth grow larger in the main screen. She had been away from home for 2 years, pretending to survey dead star systems on the edge of human space. The aliens thought she was wasting time looking at empty planets. They had no idea what she was really doing. "Admiral," said her communications officer, "we're receiving priority signals from Earth Defense Command." "Put them through," Cho Sun-woo ordered. The screen changed to show General Park Tae-jun sitting in the underground command center beneath Seoul. Behind him, hundreds of officers worked at control stations. Red lights flashed on every wall. "Admiral Cho," the general said, "Exodus protocol is now active. All hidden assets are to reveal themselves immediately. How many ships do you have?" Cho Sun-woo smiled. "More than the galaxy expects, sir." She turned to her tactical officer. "Send the revelation signal to all dark stations. Across the solar system, things that had looked like asteroids suddenly came to life. Lights appeared on their surfaces. Docking bays opened. Ships that had been hidden for decades started their engines. The asteroid belt contained 47 hidden shipyards. Jupiter's moons hid another 23. Even Earth's moon had secret facilities built deep underground. In total, humanity had been building in secret for 30 years. "My God," whispered someone on the bridge. "Look at them all." The main screen now showed hundreds of ships. Not the small exploration vessels the aliens knew about, but massive colony ships the size of cities. Cargo haulers that could carry entire factories. Warships bristling with weapons that no alien had ever seen. "This is Admiral Cho Sun-woo to all ships," she announced over the fleet communication system. "Today we begin the greatest journey in human history. Today we leave the cage they built for us and fly to the stars." Down on Earth's surface, Dr. Yang Hyejin was in her laboratory, looking at the holographic display of her greatest creation. The Genesis-class ships were more than just colony vessels. Each one was a self-contained world-building factory. Her assistant, Dr. Kim Jimin, ran into the lab holding a data tablet. Dr. Yang, she said breathlessly. The first Genesis ship just finished construction. It's ready for launch. Yang Hyejin nodded. She had spent 15 years designing these ships. Each one could carry 50,000 people and everything they needed to build a new civilization. But more importantly, each ship could terraform dead planets in just 5 years, instead of the hundreds of years other species needed. Have they loaded the Genesis seeds? Yang Hyejin asked. All 12,000 varieties, Kim Jimin confirmed. Plants, animals, and microorganisms from every environment on Earth, plus the new hybrid species we've developed. Yang Hyejin walked to the window and looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the first Genesis ship was preparing for launch. Soon there would be dozens, then hundreds. The aliens think they're getting rid of us, she said quietly. They don't realize they're about to spread us across the entire universe. Meanwhile, in a secret facility hidden beneath the Pacific Ocean, engineer Kang Minho was making final adjustments to humanity's greatest secret. For 20 years, human scientists had been studying alien technology. They had learned how to build faster-than-light drives, energy shields, and artificial gravity systems. But humans had also invented things the aliens had never imagined. Sir, said his chief engineer, Lee So-hyun, the new FTL system is ready for testing. Kang Minho looked at the control panel. The quantum tunnel drive was based on principles that alien science said were impossible. Instead of following the established space lanes that all alien ships used, human ships could now create their own paths through space. Begin the test sequence, he ordered. A small unmanned ship launched from the underwater facility. It accelerated toward the edge of the solar system, then simply vanished. 3 seconds later, it reappeared near Pluto, over 4 billion miles away. Successful jump, Lee So-hyun reported. Travel time, 3 seconds. Normal alien FTL would have taken 6 hours. Kang Minho grinned. The aliens thought they knew everything about space travel. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Back in space, the human fleet was assembling in formation, ships launched from Earth, Luna, Mars, and the hidden asteroid bases. Each ship was packed with people, supplies, and equipment. Captain Yoon. Nari stood on the bridge of the colony ship New Seoul and watched families boarding through the docking tubes. Children pressed their faces against the windows, excited about the adventure ahead. Parents carried suitcases containing everything they owned. Captain, said her first officer, we have 48,000 people aboard. All families volunteered for the first wave. Yoon Nari nodded. The exodus was completely voluntary. Earth's government had announced the plan to every human on the planet. Anyone who wanted to stay on Earth could stay. Anyone who wanted to join the great journey to unknown space could volunteer. Over 2 billion people had volunteered in the first week. Sir, the communications officer called out, we're receiving a message from Earth Defense Command. The aliens are requesting to inspect our ships. Tell them we're too busy packing, Yoon Nari replied. They'll see what we're doing soon enough. Throughout the solar system, the evacuation continued. Not just people, but entire industries were being moved. Factories were disassembled and loaded onto cargo ships. Universities packed their libraries and laboratories. Museums carefully stored humanity's art and history. But not everything was leaving Earth. General Park Tae-jun stood in the command center and watched reports come in from around the world. The largest migration in human history was happening. But Earth itself was not being abandoned. Sir, said his aide, automated systems are coming online across all continents. The manufacturing centers in Antarctica are fully operational. The defensive platforms hidden in the ocean trenches are powering up. And the human population remaining on Earth? The general asked. 500 million volunteers, sir, all military, scientific or industrial personnel. They understand their mission. The general nodded. Earth was not being evacuated. It was being transformed into something the galaxy had never seen before, a completely automated world dedicated to supporting humanity's expansion across the universe. Above Earth's atmosphere, Admiral Cho Sunwoo received her final orders from Earth Defense Command. "Admiral," came the voice of President Kim Dae-sung, "the galaxy has given us 1 year to leave. We're going to be gone in 6 months. Take the first fleet to the target systems we identified. Begin establishing colonies. Immediately." "Understood, Mr. President," Cho Sunwoo replied. "What about the aliens? They'll be watching us." "Let them watch," the president said. "They wanted to see us leave. They're about to get a show they'll never forget." The first wave of the human exodus consisted of 100 ships, 30 Genesis-class colony ships, 40 cargo vessels, 20 escort ships, and 10 exploration cruisers. Each ship was larger and more advanced than anything humanity had ever built before, but this was just the beginning. As the first fleet prepared to jump to faster-than-light speed, more ships were launching from Earth every hour. The second wave would be twice as large. The third wave would be larger still. Admiral Cho Sunwoo looked at the star charts showing humanity's destination. They were heading for a region of space the aliens called the Empty Zone, a place with no habitable planets, no resources worth taking, and no strategic value. The aliens thought humans would struggle to survive in such a place. They thought humans would slowly fade away and be forgotten. They had no idea that humans had already discovered something amazing in the Empty Zone, something that would change everything. "All ships," Admiral Cho Sunwoo announced, "prepare for quantum tunnel jump. Destination, the Tau Sector, dark space beyond galactic boundaries." "Jump. Coordinates locked in," reported her navigator. "Jump in 10 seconds, called the tactical officer. Admiral Cho Sunwoo felt the familiar excitement she always felt before a dangerous mission. But this wasn't just a mission. This was the beginning of a new chapter in human history. 5 seconds, the tactical officer announced. In that moment, Admiral Cho Sunwoo thought about the aliens back at the Galactic Council. They thought they had solved their human problem by voting to exile Earth. Jump. The human fleet vanished into hyperspace, heading for the dark regions beyond the galaxy's edge. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation. By the time the aliens realized what was really happening, it would be too late to stop it. The galaxy had voted to exile Earth. Humanity hadn't waited to be asked twice. 20 years had passed since the human exodus began. Pioneer leader Song Ji-ho stood on the observation deck of New Earth Station and looked out at something that should have been impossible. Where once there had been empty space and dead rocks, now there were green worlds spinning around young stars. Cities covered entire continents. Ships moved between planets like cars on ancient Earth highways. Children who had never seen the original Earth played in parks built on worlds that humans had created from nothing. "Another terraforming project completed ahead of schedule," reported his assistant, Han Ji-woo. "The Kepler 442 system now has 4 habitable worlds," Song Ji-ho smiled. When he was young, aliens had told humans that terraforming was almost impossible. The best alien terraforming projects took 500 years and cost incredible amounts of resources. Most species just looked for worlds that were already perfect for them. Humans had decided to make their own perfect worlds instead. "How many systems do we control now?" Song Ji-ho asked. 137 full systems, sir, plus another 86 systems where we're still working on terraforming. And Captain Yoon Nari's exploration fleets have found 300 more systems suitable for development. Song Ji-ho nodded. Captain Yoon Nari had become humanity's greatest explorer. Her ships had mapped more of the galactic void than any alien expedition in history. She had found ancient ruins, strange energy sources, and most importantly, she had found places where humans could build their new civilization without interference. "Any word from the galaxy?" Song Ji-ho asked. "The usual. Monitoring probes," Han Ji-woo replied. "They watch us from a distance, but they haven't tried to contact us. I think they're still shocked by how fast we're expanding." Song Jiho walked to his office and activated the communication system. Images appeared showing human colonies across dozens of star systems. Each world was different, built to match the dreams of the people who lived there. New Korea was a world of mountains and forests, where traditional culture mixed with advanced technology. New California was covered with beaches and cities that never slept. New Nigeria was a world of art and music, where every building was a masterpiece. But the most important world was New Geneva, where humanity's new government had been built, the I. Free Human Collective was unlike any government in galactic history. Instead of being ruled by a single leader or a council of nobles, every human citizen had a voice in decisions. They used advanced computer systems to let millions of people vote on important issues in minutes instead of months. "Sir," Han Ji-woo said, "we're receiving a priority message from New Geneva. It's from Director Choi Murray." The communication screen showed a middle-aged woman with short black hair and intelligent eyes. Director Choi Murray had been one of the lead scientists on the original Exodus project. Now she ran humanity's research and development programs. "Song Jiho," she said, "we've made a discovery that changes everything. Can you come to New Geneva immediately?" "What kind of discovery?" Song Jiho asked. "The kind that explains why the aliens were so afraid of us," Director Choi replied, "and why they should have been even more afraid." Song Jiho took the next fast transport to New Geneva. The journey between star systems that once would have taken months now took only hours, thanks to humanity's improved faster-than-light drives. New Geneva was built on a world with purple skies and silver seas. The capital city was a mix of glass, towers, and green parks, designed to be both beautiful and efficient. At the center of the city was the Institute for Advanced Research, where humanity's best scientists worked on projects that pushed the boundaries of knowledge. Director Choi. Mirai met Song Jiho at the Institute's entrance. "What I'm about to show you is classified at the highest level," she said as they walked through corridors lined with laboratories. "Only 50 people in the entire collective know about this." They entered a secure elevator that took them deep underground. When the doors opened, Song Jiho found himself in a vast chamber filled with strange equipment and holographic displays. "This is Project Memory," Director Choi explained. "For the past 15 years, we've been studying the ancient ruins that Captain Yoon Nari's teams have discovered." The holographic displays showed images of alien structures unlike anything Song Jiho had ever seen. They were massive, clearly built by a civilization with incredible technology. "Who built them?" Song Jiho asked. "We call them the predecessors," Director Choi said. "They lived in this galaxy millions of years ago, long before any of the current alien species evolved. They were explorers and builders just like humans." She touched a control and the images changed to show star charts and data analyses. "But here's what's interesting," she continued. "The predecessors didn't just explore this galaxy, they traveled between galaxies. They built gates that could transport ships across millions of light years instantly." Song Jiho felt his breath catch. "Intergalactic travel? That's impossible. Even our best scientists say the distances are too great." "The current aliens think it's impossible," Director Choi corrected. "But the predecessors didn't just think it was possible. They did it. We've found evidence of their colonies in 17 different galaxies." She led him to another display showing complex mathematical equations and energy readings. "The really amazing part is why they built the gates," she said. "They weren't trying to conquer other galaxies. They were running from something." "Running from what?" "We're not sure yet. But whatever it was powerful enough to make a civilization that could travel between galaxies abandon their home and flee to the far edges of the universe." Song Jiho stared at the ancient data. "What does this have to do with humans?" Director Choi smiled grimly. "We think the predecessors came from the same type of world as Earth. A world with one moon, similar gravity, and the same basic chemistry. More importantly, we think they had the same type of psychology as humans." "What do you mean?" Curiosity, adaptability, the ability to work together despite differences, the willingness to take risks for the chance of discovery. Director Choi paused. The current aliens think these traits are dangerous. The predecessors thought they were survival tools. She activated another display showing technical drawings of massive machines. "We've learned how to build their gates," she announced. "Not just repair them, but build new ones. In theory, we could create a transportation network that spans the entire universe." Song Ji-ho felt dizzy. The implications were staggering. If humans could travel between galaxies, they would never again be trapped or exiled. They could explore forever, build civilizations anywhere, and find resources beyond imagination. "Have you tested it?" he asked. "Small-scale tests, yes. We've successfully transported objects to the Andromeda Galaxy and back. But we haven't tried sending a ship yet." "Why not?" Director Choi's expression became serious. "Because we found something else in the predecessor ruins." Warning messages. She showed him symbols carved into ancient stone, translated into human languages. They warn about something they call the Devourers, a machine intelligence that consumes entire star systems. According to the messages, the Devourers follow anyone who uses intergalactic gates. Song Ji-ho understood now why Director Choi looked worried. "So, if we use the gates, we might lead the Devourers to this galaxy," she finished. "To all the aliens who exiled us, to Earth." Song Ji-ho was quiet for a long moment, thinking about the implications. Finally, he asked, "How long do we have?" "According to the predecessor calculations, the Devourers should arrive in this galaxy in about 80 years, whether we use the gates or not." "They're coming anyway?" "The predecessor's gates have been active for millions of years. They think the Devourers track all gate activity across the universe. Since there are still some working gates in this galaxy, the Devourers will eventually come here to investigate." Song Ji-ho looked at the ancient warnings again. "So our choice is to hide in this galaxy and wait for destruction, or to use the gates ourselves and learn how to fight?" "That's one way to look at it," Director Choi agreed. "What do the other scientists think?" "Most of them think we should warn the Galactic Council, tell them about the Devourers, and offer to work together to prepare defenses." "And what do you think?" Director Choi was quiet for a moment. "I think the aliens made their choice when they exiled us. They thought humans were too dangerous to be trusted. Maybe it's time they learned what dangerous really looks like." Song Ji-ho understood her meaning. For 20 years, humans had built their new civilization in peace. They had proven they could terraform worlds, govern themselves, and explore the unknown. They had become everything they had dreamed of becoming, but they had also become stronger than the aliens who had exiled them. "Start preparing for long-range gate tests," Song Ji-ho decided. "If the Devourers are coming anyway, we need to understand what we're dealing with. And the aliens?" Song Ji-ho looked at the star charts showing the galaxy where humanity had been born, the galaxy that had voted to throw them out. "For now, we keep building. We keep exploring. We keep growing stronger." He turned back to Director Choi. "But start monitoring galactic communications. When the Devourers arrive, the aliens are going to realize they need help." "And when they ask for help?" Song Ji-ho smiled. It wasn't a kind smile.